Now, while you watch me struggle to remove this digital port, let me tell you more about the mod itself. I decided to go with the Retrogem by Pixel Effects, which is a pretty pricey option, but from my understanding, it's one of the better mods like this available. And let me tell you, removing this digital port was not easy. I tried hot air at first, but this was my first time using a tool like that, so I was a little nervous about damaging other nearby components. I ended up just using some solder wick and some gentle persuasion to finally remove it. And before I forget, I also have to remove some metal shield under the board and on the disk drive itself. So I put those back in place and marked what needed to be trimmed, and then started trimming away with these cutters. After snipping away and bending off the necessary parts, I cleaned it up a bit with a file to cut down on any sharp parts left over. Now let's turn our attention to the Retrogem itself. To configure my gem for the GameCube, I have to solder these jumpers to bridge them together. This is pretty easy to do, and they make it really easy to understand for whatever console you end up doing. After that, I placed this mount down on the board and soldered it in place. This is just here as a spot to mount the Retrogem, so it's secured in place inside the cube. You have to solder down these screw posts to the mount as well, which seems like something that could have been done before sending them out, but I assume it's to cut costs on manufacturing, so I can let that slide. First, I'm going to remove a couple of super tiny capacitors from the board and clean up those spots with some solder wick. Then we need to scratch away at some solder mask right here with the blade to reveal the copper underneath. Along with that, we have to scrape away at some of these tiny vias and then tin them up. Now I have to be honest here, I messed up pretty bad at my initial attempt of this install. So bad in fact that I ended up breaking my console on my first attempt. Basically at the point where you're supposed to lightly scratch the solder mask away from these tiny vias. On my first go, I decided to scratch away some of the vias completely. So just so you know, the footage you see is from both my first and second install in case things seem inconsistent in any way. Now it's time to solder this flex cable to all these little pins on the video encoder chip. Compared to the other consoles you can put the Retrogem in, the GameCube is actually relatively simple. That being said, it's still some of the smallest soldering I have ever done, and bridging pins is definitely something I battled a bit with. After going at it for a while, I think I got a decent connection made to all the pins, and I don't think I have any bridges. Flux is your friend here, and from what I gather, there's no such thing as too much. Now I'm making sure to clean this area with isopropyl alcohol after, so nothing corrodes over time.